right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we're going to begin with our misdemeanor calendar with the State Court of Fulton County. These are cases involving individuals who were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon after being booked in, their cases have now been formally accused by the Solicitor General of Fulton County. This would be the defendant's initial appearance with a judicial officer. When I call your case, I will let you know what's your new case number, what are the charges brought against you, who's going to be your attorney if you need appointed counsel, and to set a bond, as well as to set a new court date. For those cases which are going to be reset to a new court date, that is going to be April 10th at 9 a.m. With the State Court of Fulton County, and that's also going to be a virtual hearing. So if you need to attend the next court date, please remember to get the Zoom link. If you are a victim or a family member or a friend or someone in support of a defendant, please remember to mute your screen and switch your video off. You can come back on Zoom when you hear the defendant whose case is being called and that you're interested in addressing. But right now, switch your video off and keep your screen on mute. All right? Courtroom 2, For the folks who've been charged with a misdemeanor offense, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. So if you have any questions, we'll give you a chance to speak with your attorney. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Ms. Champion or Ms. Grace, whoever is hosting this Zoom, if anybody is driving, please remove them from the Zoom, okay? Thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have?
This is position number 16, Mr. Ward.
All right. Jacquino Ward is accused of criminal trespass and misdemeanor possession of marijuana from March 26, 2025. Accusation number is 25 CR 16138. Mr. Ward, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney will be, who is representing, is it Ms. Kim? Ms. McLean? All right, Mr. McLean, good afternoon. And Mr. Howard, any priors?
Devin, got an open trespass in state court. Open possession of marijuana with intent, drug-related objects in Superior Court.
All right.
You got open trespass from 2024, 2023, 2025 in state court. I'll say it like that. And a judicial hold for some felony charges.
Oh, in the Superior Court matter?
Yeah, 25 SC 001 642.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Allen?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This is my case. Mr. Ward has 3 open criminal trespass cases in addition to this new one, and they're all at the same location. 878 Norwood, which is the Big Brother Food Mart. He currently has a $3,000 good bond, a $2,500 good bond, and a $1,000 good bond on those 3 open cases respectively. This is an incident from the 26th. Police responded to 878 Norwood Road, where they spoke to employees on scene who reported that the defendant was there at the location. They were complaining that he was selling drugs out of the parking lot. He'd been criminally trespassed most recently on January the 11th, but also the 4th of this year. He's got those 3 open cases, has been ordered to stay away. He was approached and taken into custody, and he was in possession of marijuana when he was searched incident to arrest. We're asking for a $3,000 cash bond to stay away from the 878 Norwood Road location. Again, that's the Big Brother Food Mart. We'd ask for a comp calendar or MH evaluation or recommendation.
Just 1 second, Ms. Allen.
I work for the store also.
Mr. Ward, you don't interrupt.
Okay.
And I give you an opportunity to speak, I'll give you an opportunity to speak. But
I'm
don't interrupt. You be quiet.
mental health, and I work for the
Be
store.
quiet. Miss Allen, anything else to add?
Just no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. I see that he has a November 2024 open bond that specifically you signed, $2,500 good bond for the same location, requiring he comply with medication and mental health treatment. So we'd be asking for that to be assessed. He's clearly been able to make 2,025 100 and 3,000 good bonds on these open cases. That's why we're asking for a $3,000 cash bond, and we're asking that he be seen while he's there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone here on Zoom who's here in support of Mr. Ward? I see a lady with a red cap on. Ma'am, are you here for Mr. Jaceno Ward? Does anybody recognize her? If the host could please prompt her to see. All right. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, a social worker visit to see about VHET, MHET would be appropriate. I would ask the court to consider the lowest possible bond in this case, considering the circumstances. He does live on Lathrop Street. He's 22, went to the 11th grade, did half of the 11th grade, got his GED later. He's worked in fast foods and large stores, doing what is referred to as aisle work, stocking the aisle, keeping it clean and orderly, and keeping the merchandise on it. So we'd ask the court to give him as low as possible a bond, but we do need to put him in a situation where he can be seen by somebody who can give some help.
All right. Is there anyone else who would like to chime in for Mr. Ward? No? Okay. Mr. Ward, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you.
I'm sorry.
So if you would like to exercise your right to remain silent, I totally respect that. But if you want to waive it and say something, I totally respect that too. So your attorney won't be happy with you if you decide to say anything, but that's entirely up to you.
More, it goes beyond that, Your Honor. I'm not sure he's competent to waive it, so I would object.
I have
Anything?
no determination right now as to competency. So, Mr. Ward, would you like to exercise your right to remain silent?
I am incompetent. I'm diagnosed mental health bipolar, and I work for the store also, and I need the drugs because I have a broken hand. I got jumped by my neighbors.
Okay.
I smoke weed frequently. I was just asking for a signature bond.
All
Quite
right.
enough.
Well, on the criminal trespass, that's going to be a $2,500 cash bond only. And on the misdemeanor marijuana, that will be a $500 surety bond. The total bond is going to be a $3,000 split bond. He's to stay 500 yards away from 878 Norwood, the Big Brother supermarket or grocery store. And he's not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess or own any firearms. In the event that he makes bond, he will be required to be equipped with an ankle monitor to make sure that he stays 500 yards away from this location. And the monitoring fees shall be paid for by Mr. Jaceno Ward or his family. And if they miss any of the payments, that will be grounds to revoke his bond. Of course, if he violates any of these other conditions, we will revoke his bond. His next court date is going to be April 10th at 9 a.m. And we will also reset the other 3 cases. Ms. Champion, do you have those 3 cases?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. So, Mr. Ward, that is your bond, and we will see you
I'm
either.
mental health.
Oh, yeah. And we'll also have a social worker visit. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you.
I try to stay away from the store, but I can't walk that far. Does that matter towards the signature bond? Can I get an ankle monitor to stay away from the store?
You don't qualify for a signature bond, but you definitely will get an ankle monitor if you bond out. but remember to pay for it. Thank you.
Okay.
Next, Your Honor, is position number 7, Mr. Ham.
Mr. John Menzies, is that correct?
Ham, position 7.
Oh, 7, I'm sorry, I thought I heard 10. Sorry about that.
Second,
Dejan Ham, sorry, all right, and he's got quite a different list of charges. He's got 2 counts of battery, family violence, cruelty in the 3rd degree from March 27th of this year, case number 25 CR 1618D. Mr. Dejan Ham, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. McLeod. Any prior?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
second arrest, 2017 out of Ohio, domestic violence, criminal mischief. The DV was dismissed. The criminal mischief was a conviction.
All right. Mr. Skiroko?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Good afternoon. This incident took place yesterday, March 27th, 2025, at the apartment complex located at 200 Nerem Street, Nerem, Northwest Atlanta. Law enforcement responded to a domestic dispute call. Upon arrival, they spoke with the victim and 911 caller, Stacia Foster Jarvis, who explained that she had gotten into a fight with her child's father, the defendant. They got into an argument and he ultimately punched and fought her. They also made contact with the defendant as well. And he says that she struck first. It's the determination of this office that Mr. Ham was the predominant aggressor. So we've issued a nolle pros for that dual arrest. She was originally on the calendar, Judge.
Okay.
But with respect to injuries, Miss Jarvis sustained visible cuts, bruising, swelling on her face, as well as scratches and cuts on both of her legs from the defendant striking her. The defendant had a minor laceration to his nose and some scratches as well. They were both placed into custody at that time. On what Mr. Jordan was saying with respect to that criminal mischief, it was amended from a domestic violence charge originally.
Okay.
And he was convicted of that in 2017 in Ohio. With that, the state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety for the battery family violence first count, a $1,000 surety for the second count, and a $500 surety on the cruelty to children, with no further contact with Miss Stacia Foster Jarvis. And I'll spell that for the court. It's Staisha, and then Foster, traditional spelling, hyphenated, Jarvis.
Okay.
Third-party transport for the child. Stay away from 200 Nerem Street, Northwest Atlanta. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while on bond, and anger awareness, Judge. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor.
So Ms. Jarvis Foster, or Foster Jarvis, has been released. I don't know if she's on Zoom, but Ms. McLeod, what's your take on this?
My take on this, Your Honor, based on what my client tells me, is that it was just a misunderstanding between both of them. And as the state said, both of them are injured. My client tells me that he and the mother of his child have been in a relationship for 4 years. I also have some information on his previous arrest in Ohio, which was some time ago. It was in 2017. And he explained to me that that was a result of an incident with his father, where his father had been acting up because at the time his father had an addiction, and it was just a situation where he had an interaction with his dad. I just wanted to make that clear to the court. It was not a situation with a domestic partner, anything like that. He tells me that he knows that the alleged victim wants to continue to be in a relationship with him and for them to live together, because she indicated as much to the police when they came. They both indicated that, you know, they really didn't want, it was nothing, and they didn't want the police to be involved. But of course, since the police had been called, they insisted that they had to be arrested and arrested both of them. My client has no significant history at all other than that incident, which I explained that was with his father in 2017. So I would ask the court to consider a signature bond for him based on, and that it should be conditional on no further violent contact with the alleged victim.
Judge, just briefly, I forgot two additional things. I'm sorry. She was the one who called 911, Miss Foster Jarvis, and just as well, I neglected to include that the juvenile XH, their child.
Yeah, I've seen
that at
that
the time?
before.
Right, thank you.
Okay. All right. On the battery family violence, count 1 is going to be 2,000. The battery family violence count 2 is 2,000, and the cruelty is 1,000. This is a $5,000 signature bond for pretrial services, level 1. Conditions of the bond are no further contact with Stacia. I want to make sure I got Foster-Javis. No further contact with the minor identified as XH. Miss Foster shall retrieve custody of XH. Mr. Ham is to also stay away from the location at 200 Nerham Street, unit, I can't remember what was it.
Unit 707. Judge.
701.
707, Your Honor.
707, okay. In fact, Mr. Ham is required to stay away from the entire apartment complex. He's to stay 200 yards away from the mother and the child and not have any kind of contact or communication with them. He's allowed a one-time visit to the apartment with a police officer to retrieve his belongings. But then within 30 days of being released, he must update the court with his new mailing address, and it cannot be the Nerham Street location. He is to enroll in a domestic violence intervention program, and he must show proof of enrollment that he's done so within 30 days of release and show that to his pretrial officer. Attend and complete all 26 weekly classes at his expense and present the certificate of completion to his pretrial officer. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. If Mr. Ham wishes to have contact with the minor child, he must file a legitimation action with the appropriate superior court and get a court-ordered outline for visitation, custody, parenting plan, as well as child support. Next court date will be sent to his new address, provided that he gives that to us within 30 days of being released. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, Ms. McLeod, you have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Next case, please.
Position number 3, Ms. Brown.
This is Pilar Brown, accused of criminal trespass from March 21st of this year, case number 25 CR 1626A. Ms. Brown, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors?
About 69.
Okay.
Got a 2025 case out of Cobb, giving false name, trespass, shoplifting, simple battery against police, or
That's
detention.
good. That's good. Any FTAs that I should be mindful of?
3 from last year,
All right,
and
thank you.
3 from 2018, 2021, 19. All right.
24. Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Connor?
This is my case, Your
Oh,
Honor.
Ms. Allen, yeah.
Not my client. Oh.
This is an incident on March the 21st. It's a bind over from the City of Atlanta Municipal Court. They charged her, the warrants are for criminal trespass, but it's alleged that she went into the CVS and stole items. It was captured on surveillance. And so she's charged with criminal trespass for an unlawful purpose. I do note that her GCIC includes an arrest on the same day for shoplifting, so that might be a separate bind over situation, but we're aware and we'll follow through with making sure those things are collected and put together if necessary. We're asking for $1,000 surety to stay away from the CVS pharmacy. This is 2429 MLK Junior Drive. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
All right, and Ms. Kim?
Your Honor, I
Yeah,
represent
that'll be,
Ryan.
That's
Sorry
you?
about that.
yes, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, yes, sir.
Polara Brown is 40 years old. I've gotten in touch with her social worker at my sister's house, and I haven't heard back from them yet. We will be putting her into a situation there as soon as we can. In the meantime, we'll ask our social worker to speak to her. And that's really all to add at this point. We'd ask the court to set an appropriate bond as low as possible, consistent with the idea that we're going to get her into a residential. Thank you.
All right, well, City Court of Atlanta set a $100 bond. I doubt a bonding company will address that. So I'm just going to amend it to $1,000 surety bond. If she does make bond, then at least a bonding company will consider it. To stay away from the location, the CVS pharmacy at 2429 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons. And next court date is April 10th. Thank you.
Next is position number 6, Ms. Goodwin.
India Goodwin is accused of theft by shoplifting from June 8th of last year, case 25 CR 1620H. Ms. Goodwin, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Ms. Kim.
Fourth
Any-
arrest.
Four? Did you say 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything's dismissed. Battery, cruelty in the third, 2018 theft by receiving, and the 2018 shoplifting.
All
All
right.
dismissed.
Thank you. Mr. Skiroka?
Yes, Judge. This incident took place on June 8th, 2024 at 3050 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, Southwest Atlanta. That is the City Trends clothing store. Law enforcement responded to a larceny call there. Upon arrival, the officers spoke with Tamika Bagley, the store manager there at the location, who explained that that morning the defendant, whom she recognized because the defendant actually used to work at City Trends, entered the store with 3 unidentified women. The defendant and the other women filled up 3 carts worth of clothing valued at over $500, which is why we have a pending felony transfer request for this case. We just haven't heard back on that yet. And then left the store with the merchandise without paying. When the defendant and the other women left the store, they were seen by a store associate getting into a vehicle with a license plate covered by cardboard. And this incident was captured on video, which was provided to the police along with the defendant's Facebook and job application information. On the prior arrests, while they are not convictions, there was theft by shop 2018. That was Noel Prost, theft by receiving 2018. That was dismissed. And a battery and cruelty to children, the third in 2019. That was Noel Prost. Given the felonious nature of this that we are anticipating will qualify this as a felony. We're state's recommendation is $2,000 surety, anti-theft, stay away from 3050 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. That is, again, the City Trends, and no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 31 years old. She was born and raised here in Georgia. She graduated from high school 2012, and she has been unemployed for about 2 years. And she has two minor children who are only 7 and 9 years old. And Your Honor, she does not get child support, and she is a single mom who's trying to support her children. She gets help from her sister and her mother. Your Honor, we would like to request for a signature on bond. There were 3 other women, and my client denies the allegation. Thank you.
Bond is set at 2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 3. Ms. Goodwin, level 3 means that you will be very good friends with pretrial because you'll be seeing them once a week. If you fail to report to pretrial once a week, the $2,500 signature bond will be revoked. You're also to stay 200 yards away from the city's trend store at 3050 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. And just FYI, as the prosecutor indicated, your case is being reviewed by the district attorney's office as a possible felony charge. So please be mindful of that, and we'll see you, and make sure your address is current with the court. If you change your address, let us know in writing. Thank you.
Next is position number 11, Ms. Sanders.
11. Okay.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm sorry. Malcolm Connor here from Ms. Sanders.
Yes, Mr. Connor, good afternoon. And you have Randy Sanders, Randy with an I, accused of terroristic threats and acts from March 3rd of this year. The accusation number is 25 CR 1623E. Ms. Sanders, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney, Mr. Connor, is on Zoom. And Mr. Howard, any priors?
7. 2025 possession of marijuana dismissed. 03 disorderly conduct conviction. All the other violent charges in the history is dismissed.
Thank you. Mr. Scirocco, if you'd just like to let me know the bond recommendation.
You're not looking for a factual basis, Judge? For this?
Just very briefly, I've already read the warrant, but
Okay,
just
all right.
very brief. I've already got the history as well.
Understood. Thank you. Although to my understanding, I thought I see 2 disorderly conducts. I could have written them down incorrectly, but I see both of those were convictions, 2015 and 18.
Yeah.
Okay. The state's recommendation for this case is a $1,500 surety bond for the defendant to complete anger management, have no further contact with Navia Moore, and to stay away from 872 Hank Aaron Drive, Southeast Atlanta, which is the Cava restaurant, and to have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. It's my understanding that we've spoken with the victim in this case.
Yeah.
Or the victim's mother on behalf of the victim. She's since quit her job at the Cava restaurant because of this incident, out of fear that the defendant would return. And they absolutely want no further contact on this, Judge. I would ask that the court sound for them when appropriate. Thank you.
Just to clarify that, Your Honor, that complaining witness was fired from her job from Cava restaurant for her actions against Ms. Sanders as well. Just to clarify that. Ms. Sanders.
Mr. Connor, if you don't mind, please pause. Navia Khan, what was Moore? I think it was Navia Moore.
Correct.
Navia Moore, if you would like to please, if you're here, unmute and start your video. Otherwise, we're moving on.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I can hear you. I cannot see you. So if I cannot
Sorry,
see
give
you,
me
you
one
will not be
second.
addressed.
Hey, good afternoon, Judge. This is her mother, Mrs. Presley.
All right, Miss Presley, go to your closet and put on a jacket. You're on court. You're not at a picnic. Go. Miss Moore, I recommend you use your mother's Zoom since it appears to work. if you're in the right same location. All right, Mr. Moore, the alleged victims apparently are not ready. What would you like to tell me?
Mr. Connor, you say Mr. Moore?
I say Mr. I'm so sorry. I'll get it. Okay.
No
Friday.
problem.
It's been a long week. Sorry about that.
Miss Sanders is 29 years old. She's a lifelong resident of Atlanta, Georgia. She has significant ties to the state of Georgia. She's a graduate of Lynthia Springs High School. She's gainfully employed at NailNet Student Loans Company. She's a mother of the one minor child, 7 years old. Your Honor, from my understanding, reading this warrant, it's a very, with all respect to the court, it's a very biased warrant. It's not the full representation of the facts that transpired at that Cava restaurant. Given that her mother is law enforcement, I believe, stated in a warrant, they kind of pushed this through. I think this could have been handled without the court's, resources. This was an exchange of words about food that escalated and should have been handled amongst adults, Your Honor. I would ask for a signature bond, given her very limited criminal history and given the facts.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Presley, all right, if you please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, since the incident at this particular restaurant, has there been any contact between you, Mr. and the defendant?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and has the defendant ever gone back to the restaurant where you and your daughter, I think your daughter used to work there?
Hello?
Yeah, she used to work there. She hold on one second, Nevaeh.
All right.
Not to my knowledge, Your Honor. She has not been back there. I don't know since then, since Nevaeh has quit, because she was not fired to counteract what the attorney said. She quit.
All right.
So we don't know
I really
so far.
wanted to know about whether there was any further engagement since the incident date. All right. So thank you so much. And I appreciate you putting on your jacket. Thank you. All right. Nevaeh Moore, are you driving?
No, I'm
Okay,
sitting.
now listen very carefully. Pick up your phone and hold it in front of your face. I just don't want to see the ceiling.
Okay, I can't really see. Can you see me?
I can see you. Pick up the phone and put it in front of your face.
Can you see it?
Nope.
Might be frozen.
I don't know what the issue is.
All right.
The camera is on.
Oh, okay, there we go. Perfect.
Okay, you can see me?
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Have you had any further contact between the defendant and yourself at the restaurant? You can put your hand down.
No.
And do you still work at that particular restaurant?
No, I quit.
Okay, thank you so much. You may both mute your screens. Ms. Sanders, your bond is going to be set at $2,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. You're to have no further contact with Nevaeh Moore and Mrs. Presley. Mrs. Presley, what's your first name? Is it Lakeisha?
That's correct.
Okay. And no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. And also to stay away from the Cava restaurant at 872 Hank Aaron Drive. I'm sure there are other Cava restaurants in town that you can patronize. Please be mindful that you're required to report to pretrial once a month and maintain a current address for the courts at all times. And you will be sent a new court summons. Mr. Connor, if you have not done so, please file an entry of appearance. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business for today. May I be excused?
Yes, Mr. Connor, you are excused. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
You too.
All right, Ms. Moore, you're free to leave the Zoom. And next case, please. Ms. Presley, you're free to leave the Zoom.
Next, Your Honor, is position number 4, Ms. Bew.
Okay, who represents Ms. Ewan Bui?
That will be
Ms.
Mike
Kim?
McLean, PD McLean.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I better unmute. You didn't hear me. I do. Thank you.
And Mr. McLean, is there any language issues?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. This is case 25 CR 1625B. Miss Yuen Bui, Miss Bui, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is what?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. The charges brought against you are simple battery, family violence, criminal trespass, and cruelty in the third degree from a March 27th, 2025 incident. You've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is presently Mr. Michael McLean. Mr. Howard, any prior?
Second,
Second?
2011 financial transaction card fraud.
All right, thank you. Miss Allen, anything to add?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just briefly, this is an incident from yesterday, the 27th of March. Police in Johns Creek at about 7:20 p.m. were called to 7177 Bellcrest Drive. That is the location where the defendant and her ex-husband are currently still living with their 4 children. There is a divorce decree and parenting plan and case manager from their divorce in 2023 that contemplates children going back and forth between 2 different households. So clearly something has changed since that 2023 CV 3800500 case was entered. It also contemplates the defendant in front of you receiving monthly child support from Joseph May, who is the victim in this case. The victim in this case called the police, reported that he was trying to pack his things to leave the location when his wife became upset with how slow he was. She grabbed him and shoved him. She struck him repeatedly, ripping his shirt off and causing scratches across his chest that were visible to police. And this was done specifically in front of their 9-year-old, whose initials are JM. We did speak to Mr. Joseph May, M-A-I. I believe he was going to join us on Zoom. He did report that they're no longer married, but they live together at the location and share these children. He reported that he called the police to make a report. They have been communicating from the jail. And he reports that the defendant needs to come back home to take care of one of their children who has special needs. He's not in fear. We're asking for a $4,000 SOB through pretrial, Your Honor, and we're asking for an order that these 2 people not cohabitate. The children, 4 of them, and one including a special needs child, shouldn't have to be present for violence back and forth between parents who are divorced and trying to co-parent. So it's the state's position they should just not have any contact or not cohabitate, but we do believe a SOB is appropriate. You can sound from Mr. Joseph May if he's present. Thank you.
Mr. Joseph Tong Tan May, or Mai.
Yes, I'm here, Your Honor.
Mr. Mai, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I swear.
Do you still intend to continue living at Bellcrest? I think it was Bellcrest. Yeah, Bellcrest. Or were you planning to move out that day?
I already moved out yesterday.
And do you have a new address?
Yes, I do.
All right. Thank you very much. That's all I need to know.
Can I say some more, Your
Well,
Honor?
go ahead. I'll let you know whether I'm going to stop you.
So I talked to my ex-wife earlier, and you know, we don't have anything against each other, and I don't want to press any charges. And especially I want if she can get home as soon as possible to take care of the kids, especially the special need, because she the main caregiver, and I don't live in that address anymore.
Oh, Mr. Mai. Oh,
Yes.
Mr. Mai. You are divorced. You're no longer married to that woman. You don't get to tell her what to do. Remember that.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm not.
The second thing you should remember is that once the police are called and someone's arrested, you don't have the decision on whether the case gets prosecuted.
Yes, Your Honor.
So she'll get home when she's ready to get home. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else to add, Mr. McLean?
No, nothing, Your Honor. No objection to what the state has proposed.
Okay. Ms. Bui, this is unfortunately a criminal matter, and you're going to have to go through the motions and make sure you comply with the conditions of the bond. Otherwise, things are really going to become real difficult from now on. The simple battery is going to be 1,000. The battery family violence is going to be 2,000. The criminal trespass is 500. and the cruelty is going to be $500. Your total bond is going to be $4,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. What that means is that you can sign up for your bond. You won't have to pay for the bond today, but you will have to comply with the following conditions. No further contact with Joseph Tong Tan Mai. You and he are to stay 200 yards apart from each other and not communicate with each other in any way, form, or manner. Since he has vacated the 7177 Bellcrest Drive, then you can return to that location. But you got to understand that if he comes to the house, you are to shut the door and not let him in, because you are required to have not any contact with him. Do you understand?
I understand. Can I say one?
If there are any school affairs, if there are any medical appointments, if there are any affairs where both you and he are required to be there, and because of the child, one of you cannot be there.
I am in a very difficult position.
Miss Bui, you are in Fulton County Jail with handcuffs on. That's already a difficult situation. But because of a domestic violence situation, don't make it any more difficult. Now, if you don't comply with this court order, then I'll be glad to keep you in jail. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is a domestic violence situation. And you are required to have no contact. Even if Mr. Mai decides that, he's fine with having contact with you, you are under a court order to not have any contact with him. So you are required to stay 200 yards away from him and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. You already have a divorce decree. You already have a parenting plan. You already have child support and alimony or whatever has already been resolved in that case. And if it isn't, contact your divorce attorney to get that situated. But in the meantime, you are also to enroll in a domestic violence intervention program, and you will do so within 30 days of being released from jail. This is a 26-week program, and you'll be required to attend and complete all 26 classes. And once you've completed it, perhaps the prosecutor will agree to amend it from no contact to no further violent contact. Do you understand? It's up to you to decide. If there are any future interactions with your ex-husband and the police get involved, you could end up in jail with no bond. Just for your information. Your next court date will be sent to your Bellcrest Drive location. If you change your address, make sure that you inform the court of your new address. All exchange of the children will be done through a third party. So you should designate a third person who can pick up and drop off the children in order to comply with the parenting plan. Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, is position number 17, Ms. Waring.
This is Atilia Nasha Waring. Is that correct, Deputy?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Accused of simple battery, family violence from March 27th of this year. Accusation 25 CR 1611F. Ms. Waring, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. McLean.
Third arrest, 2017, simple assault, ag assault dismissed. 2017, default and required appearance. It's out of state.
All right, so she's got an FTA from what appears to be default and required appearance. That's like,
Yeah, I thought that was FTA too, but
It is. It's
that's
a
how they
failure
worded
to
it.
appear. That's just how Philadelphia says it.
maybe we should do that too. Default and required appearance. Okay. All right. And Miss Allen, any
Your Honor,
recommendation?
this is an incident that occurred yesterday. The location is a plasma donation center. That's 1043 Cleveland Avenue. Police on scene spoke to multiple witnesses and reviewed surveillance footage because this incident occurred outside the location. On surveillance, the defendant and victim arrive in a car, get out of the vehicle. The defendant goes inside, and when he walks back outside, he and the excuse me, and the victim, Mr. DeMarcus Passmore, have a conversation, and she is seen striking him repeatedly on his face and in his body. He had scratches and bruising around his eyes. And when he spoke to police, he said, well, these injuries are from an incident from the other day. They do live together, Your Honor. We did speak to Mr. Passmore. He said that there have been physical altercations in the past, but they were not that serious, and he's not in fear. And let's see, they share no children. The location where they live together is 404 Rawson Street in Atlanta. Asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, no violent contact, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, Your Honor. And if you'd like to speak to Mr. Passmore.
Mr. Passmore, please unmute if you want to say anything.
Yes, ma'am. It's been
Raise your right hand.
oh
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. We might argue a little bit, but it don't really be no physical fighting. That was like the only time we had a physical fight, man. We don't really like, we engaged, we just got engaged and we were about to get married. So, we just been working on our relationship. But we really don't, it just be like an argument situation, but it never has it been a physical fight. The scratching and stuff was from me and my brother getting into it. It's never been a physical fight with me and Miss Attila Waring.
And just to be clear, Your Honor, a physical fight with his brother is now the third version of events to explain the injuries that were visible on his face yesterday when he spoke to police. So I just explained one of them. He said a separate explanation for these injuries. He talked about having a cat and how the cat injured him when he spoke to our victim advocate today. And I'll now let you know that there are jail calls between this defendant and this victim where he says to her, you hit me and all these people saw it. I don't know what you want me to do. So take the statements of this defendant with a grain of salt. There needs to be some kind of intervention. We would ask for DVIP, Your Honor, at this point.
Anything else, Mr. Passmore?
I didn't say that. Somebody else said that she hit me, but I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that at all.
All right.
Yeah,
You understand.
I love her to death. I don't think that we should have to separate. We just working on our relationship. That's it. We
And how are you working on it?
We getting better. I don't mean to cut you off, Judge, but we getting better. I promise you.
We get what?
It was just a bad situation. I should have just gave her key. And it would have diffused the situation, but that didn't help. So, that was on my behalf. I just didn't know why she was, so upset. But I know why she was upset, but I just wanted her to calm down for a second so I could talk to her.
And how many children do you share with her?
We don't share children, but we do share children, like, mentally.
Do you have any children with her?
No, ma'am, but we was working on it.
Okay.
We want to have a baby together.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Passmore. Please mute
All
yourself.
right. Thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, thank you. 32-year-old Miss Waring has got some college and has jobs, and we would have no objection, of course, to the signature bond part of it. I'm not sure 26 weeks of DVIP would be necessary at this point. If Your Honor would consider that if she needs any classes, make it anger management at this point, and we'll work on that later. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The bond is going to be set at $2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services level 2. No further violent contact with DeMarcus Passmore. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. So if there are any firearms in the home, they have to be removed and surrendered to the authorities for destruction. Ms. Waring, within 30 days of being released, you must show proof to your pretrial officer, and this is level 2, Mr. Howard. You must show proof to your pretrial officer that you have enrolled in a domestic violence intervention program. This is a 26-week program, and you are required to attend each class at your expense. Now, if you and Mr. Passmore are trying to work on any kind of anger issues, I highly recommend that Mr. Passmore also join the classes. It'll be kind of a, a bonding event for the next 6 months. But you'll be required to attend. It'll be completely up to Mr. Passmore whether he would like to join you in this fun class sessions. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and as I said, no firearms. You will be subject to random screens, and your next court date will be sent to your Rawson Street location. If you change your address, please let us know. Also, you and Mr. Passmore are to stay away from the 1403 Cleveland Drive location where the plasma center is. You're both not allowed to be at that location. Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, is position number 2, Mr. Brown.
All right, we can remove Mr. Passmore from the Zoom, please.
No.
If the host will get the other folks to identify who they are, I've got a Samsung, a Zoom user, someone with a dot, an iPhone, a Priscilla. Y'all need to change your names to the correct name. No, switch your videos off. Switch your videos off. The name needs to show who you are. Otherwise, we will remove you from Zoom. Okay? I'm sorry, was that position 4?
2.
2, sorry. Okay, Aldemetrius Brown is accused of battery, family violence from March 27th.
Excuse me, how do we change the name?
All right, remove her from Zoom, please, or place her in the waiting room. And she can communicate via Zoom, via the chat. Please place this person in the waiting room. Thank you. As I was saying, Mr. Brown's accused of battery, family violence from March 27th, 2025. And his case number is 25 CR 001617F. Mr. Brown, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Miss Kim. Okay.
12 total. Last arrest was possession of a firearm by a convicted felon or felony first offender. 2016 and 17 parole violation. 2018 probation. 2013 ag assault arrest. 2011 possession of cocaine with intent conviction, and a 2010 FTF.
Do you have the firearm conviction case number? Because I've got prior parole violations, so I'm just curious about that. All
I
right.
can see if I can find a judge and I'll let you know.
Okay. And Mr. Scirocco, don't worry about the case number. Tell me what's your recommendation and if you want to briefly allocate the alleged facts.
Sure, Judge. So this was a physical altercation that took place on the 27th at 213 Harwell Place Northwest. It's an apartment complex in Atlanta. The victim here is Miss Ashley Mubarak, M-U-B-A-R-A-K. She had gotten into a physical altercation with the defendant, who is the father of her children. They share 2, and they live together. I'll say this because it's important. It started that morning because they were lying in bed. Defendant asked her when she was going to change their kid's name back to his last name. When she was saying, I don't know, he got upset, started cursing at her, left the room before returning. And while she was laying at the bottom of the bed, he got on top of her, put his forearm to her chest and neck area, pressed it in, pinning her down while yelling, I'm going to do this every day until you change our kid's last name back. He stopped after he noticed that she was crying. She sustained visible red marks to her neck and chest area. And yeah, I do see the aggravated battery, 2 counts of that, possession of firearm by convicted felon, possession of firearm during commission. That's 2013. And I also see FTAs, arrests for them, 2010, parole violations, 2016, 17, and 18.
Are y'all recommending a surety bond?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Thank you.
And it's my understanding as well we've heard the jail calls in this case, in which he's apologized to her. And in response, they were talking about how he's always threatening her, basically.
All right.
So the state's recommendation for this case is a $5,000 surety bond, the Family Violence Intervention Program, no further contact with Ashley Mubarak, third-party transport for the children, stay away from Harwell Place Northwest, 213 Harwell Place Northwest, that complex, and no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. It's my understanding that she is here, and I would imagine she's the one that was trying to change her name earlier, but we would sound for the victim at this time. She stated to us that she's not in fear of him and wants contact, but we do not. We think that would be a terrible idea given his history and the threats and the facts here.
So, Judge, his name is in Odyssey 2 different times. So one of them has all the violent convictions, as he stated, and the other one just have this current charge. But he is on probation until 2027 for the firearm by convicted felon.
All right. So he's on active probation then. All right. Thank you. If the host will please place the other person from the waiting room into the main session, please.
I did, Judge, if it's the iPhone person, and I asked for them to put their name in the chat so I could place it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Grace. Is there an Ashley Mubarak on Zoom? And if so, go ahead and unmute and start your video. Ashley Mubarak.
Yes, I'm present.
All right. Ms. Mubarak, did you have something to add?
I do want contact with him. He's the father of my
In that case, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you share with him?
2.
2. And are you both married?
No.
And has he filed a legitimation action to get visitation, custody, or any kind of parenting plan?
No, we've been together for 9 years, so this is the first time.
And anything else you'd like to tell me other than you want contact with him?
Yes, and he's not a violent person at all, and he helped me with my kids. He babysits my kids as well when I go to work.
So he helps you with childcare?
Yes.
What else?
We stay together.
Other than that, but what else does he help you with other than that?
You know, my bills, raising my kids.
Oh, okay. And are the last names of the children in your name or his name?
No, mine.
Okay, and that's your absolute right. Under the law, you have the absolute right to name the children whatever you would like to call them, because he has no rights to the child or the children until he legitimates them. All right? Just wanted to make sure you understood that. Thank you. Ms. Kim, anything to add?
Yes, my client, Mr. Brown, is 33 years old. He completed up to 11th grade, and then he got his GED. Your Honor, we would like to request for a signature on bond through pretrial level 3. He is working as a package checker, and he also has a landscaping business, and he does a side job, odd job, traffic control to raise cash for childcare and rearing 2 children, Your Honor. And we would like to request for signature on bond. Thank you.
Bond is set at 7,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services level 3. He will report to pretrial services once a week. He's to have no further contact with Ashley Mubarak and no further contact with the children that he shares with Ms. Mubarak. He's to stay away from 213 Howell Place in Apartment E in Northwest Atlanta. Actually, he's required to stay away from the entire complex. One-time visit is allowed with a police officer for him to remove his belongings, and then he will update the court with his new residential address within 30 days of being released. He will enroll in a domestic violence intervention program within 30 days of being released, and he will attend all 26 classes at his expense without missing or skipping any of the classes. If he wishes to have any kind of joint visitation or custody or parenting plan or to assert any of his fatherly rights, then he needs to file a legitimation action with the appropriate superior court and get a court order to establish joint visitation, custody, and child support can also be in a matter that can be addressed in the legitimation action. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. Mr. Brown, you are required by law to not own any firearms, so make sure you maintain that. And you will be subject to random screens for alcohol and or illegal drugs. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So you saying that we can't have contact period for the,
That would be absolutely correct. And if the family court allows for contact with the children, then it's up to that court to decide whether you arrange the exchange or whether it'll be done through a third party.
you say who's gonna do that? I'm sorry. Could you repeat
Need to
yourself?
file a legitimation action.
Does that, you know how how that process is or the amount
Since
or?
it's Mr. Brown's responsibility, he will go to the Family Law Center and figure that out.
Okay.
All right?
Yes, ma'am.
You're free to go.
Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, is position number 5, Mr. Gaynor.
Charles Tavius Gaynor is accused of battery family violence from March 26 of this year, case 25 CR 1619Y. Mr. Gaynor, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Holland?
Ninth arrest. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Got an open case out of Newton County driving without a valid license. On probation in Washington County for battery, trespass, and ag stalking. 2020 trespass conviction. 2019 battery DV obstruction, reckless conduct conviction. 2017 disorderly conduct conviction.
Do you have the whole case number for the criminal trespass and stalking?
It's out of Washington County, so
Oh, it's
I have
Washington.
the case number. Yeah, it's 24 CR 35.
I see. Okay, that was one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Scirocco, what's the state's recommendation for bond?
Yes, Judge. Are you familiar with the facts in this case?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Based on the warrant, that's all I have
Okay.
right now.
All right. Well, that is partially what I based mine on as well. So I will just speak to very specific on the contact that we've had with this victim. It's my understanding, she does want contact with him and is not, or at least is okay with it, is not in fear of him. However, we are going to be asking for no further contact. This case, he actually has a previous battery family violence conviction. I'm not sure if I heard Mr. Jordan allude to that. It's out of 2020. So this is another, albeit more serious, pending felony transfer request that we are waiting on word back for. So given the previous battery, 2024, aggravated stalking, 2024, and that battery family violence conviction, all those convictions from 2020 in Lowndes County, LOWNDES.
Okay.
We are asking for an $8,000 cash bond for this case. With FFIP, no further contact with Miss Anaya Lawrence, a stay away from 1212 James Jackson Parkway, which is the victim's address, and no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Sirocco, it's Howard. It's not Jordan. You've been calling me Jordan for the last 2 days.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should have told me yesterday.
All right. Anyways, so it's you said a cash bond and no further contact, correct?
That's correct, Judge.
All right, thank you. Anaya Lawrence, if you're on Zoom, this will be the time to unmute and start your video. I thought I saw an Anaya, but maybe no. All right. Mr. Gaynor, Kilo Gaynor, are you here in support of this defendant?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Lawrence is at work. She texted me and said I have to dismiss my kids at 3, so I have to log off. But the woman knows my wishes if I don't be on before they get to him. So I don't know what she meant by the woman knows her wishes, but yeah, OJ.
All right. Did you have anything to add?
Can you explain what the bond process with him?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you know Mr. Charles Tavius Gaynor?
That's my brother.
Okay. Currently, he has no bond.
No bond?
Correct.
Okay. And
All right. And so I'm moving on. Please mute your screen. Ms. Kim, anything to add?
Yes, Mr. Gaynor is 27 years old. He was born and raised here in Georgia, Your Honor. He has 2 minor children, 5 and 6 years old. He's working at warehouse ever since he graduated from high school 2016. He's not a flight risk. He has a strong ties to the community. And Your Honor, the victim does not want to prosecute this case. She wants to drop the charge. My client has no objection if that helps him to get a lower bond. He's willing to stay away from her, have no contact with her. They do not have any children. He's willing to be completely out of the, just as long as it doesn't become like $7,000 cash bond. That is way too high for him. We would like to request for $1,000 surety bond. Thank you.
I still see an Anaya Lawrence, so that's not an active Zoom panel, right? Okay. On the Mr. Gaynor, on the battery family violence, that's going to be a 2,500 surety bond. No further contact with Anaya Lawrence and to stay away from the James King location. If you wish to have any contact with the children that you share with Ms. Lawrence, I'll allow for a third-party transfer. So you might want to ask for your brother to see whether he's willing to serve as a third party so you can see the kids. But you yourself are required to stay 200 yards away from Ms. Lawrence and not have any contact with her. Make sure that you update the court with your new address because you're not allowed to be cohabitating with Ms. Lawrence, and you should do that within 30 days of being released. Your next court date is going to be your next court date is going to be April 10th. Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, we'll go with position number 1, Mr. Aslam, no.
This is Islam Aslanov, case number 25 CR 001616J. Mr. Aslanov, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr.
6
Howard?
total. 6 total. On probation out of Forsyth for drugs. Wanted out of Forsyth County on a probation hold. Clark County says intimidation, stalking. 2024 probation, 2024 DUI arrest, 2022 fleeing and officer conviction.
2022, 2024. Was there a probation violation in 2024?
Correct.
And he's got a hold in Forsyth County.
For the probation and out of Clark County for
Oh,
intimidation, stalking is what the
okay, so
chief
two
shall say.
holds. Understood.
Correct.
Thank you. Mr. Skiroka?
Yes, Judge, thank you. This incident took place, it was September 2nd, 2024, at around and in the area of 496 Plasters Avenue Northeast, Atlanta. It's a gas station, but this took place the intersection right there. Auto enforcement officers responded to the incident that evening. Was a call about like stunt driving. The officer was able to observe fresh damage to the streets. And it was clear that the purpose of that gathering was to conduct a video shoot for a rap music video. And in one of the shots for that video, the artist is seen in the center of this intersection of Armour Drive Northeast and Plasters Ave, while two BMWs are doing donuts around him, leaving that fresh damage to the streets. One of the vehicles, it's a 2011 BMW M3, was observed driving in a circular motion around him, unnecessarily, of course, causing the vehicle to move circularly. There were social media posts discovered showing the two BMWs engaged in the donuts at that intersection there, driven by Instagram users. One of them not relevant here, but the one that is Nasi B Way. That's just the handle. And it was determined that belonged to the defendant. He's the owner of that Instagram account. User activity also showed evidence of communication between the event organizer, the other Instagram account with the other BMW, and the defendant prior to the incident. And additionally, license plate readers placed the vehicle which is owned by the defendant, heading towards 496 Plasters just minutes before that meet it's around 9 p.m. So yes, given that the fleeing and eluding 2023, and there were, as you were saying, Mr. Howard, probation violations from 2023 and 2024. I also see a DUI arrest in 2024, although I'm assuming that's open. But the state's recommendation for this, given the massive risk to public safety of driving like this, the arrogance to post things like this online, the state's recommending a $5,000 surety bond on the reckless stunt driving, that's count 2, and a $1,000 surety bond on the laying drag. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond, and stay away from that intersection, the Armour Drive Northeast and Plasters Ave Northeast in Atlanta. Thank you.
I see a Layla Aslanova. Is there someone who wants to speak on behalf of Mr. Islam, or shall I move on? I have a Seville Aslanova. Maybe it's a different case.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And who are you, Miss Aslanova?
I'm Islam's older sister.
All right.
And
Great.
Layla is also our older sister as well.
Oh, good. Okay. The big sisters are here. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Yes, what would you like to tell us?
I would just like for you personally to consider the fact that he is aside from the stunts and the social media stuff that he does, he is a very good person. He is a hardworking person,
What
and
does he do for a job?
he's a truck driver.
A truck driver?
Yes, ma'am.
Does he have a commercial driver's license?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I guess he'll soon be saying goodbye to that if he's convicted of these offenses. Anything else?
The fact that he's been trying very hard to stay on the road with, with his probation over here, the accusations of his violation for the probation actually has different reasons, which his lawyer will be taking care of. He's not present here today, but for the Forsyth County, he will be representing him.
Okay. And well, like you
Also
said,
for the
aside from the
Athens.
stunts and these social media things, anything else?
Mm, That's all I can add at the moment, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Please mute your screen. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 24 years young, and he came to U.S. 2006 from Russia. He is a U.S. citizen ever since 2015. Your Honor, he graduated from Milton High School 2019. Ever since then, he has his own trucking business. He's driving as a truck driver. Your Honor, he is not a flight risk because he will be in two different counties jail for a long, long time. So he's not going anywhere, Your Honor. I would like to ask for signature on bond, pretrial level 3. He's still young, and that's all, Your Honor.
All right. Well, I'm glad you didn't finish that phrase. On the lane drag, that's going to be 2,000, and the reckless stunt driving is going to be 3,000. This is going to be a $5,000 surety bond. No driving unless he has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. And he's only allowed to drive between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So no night driving. So after 6 p.m., he's on a curfew. He's not allowed to operate any vehicle, not even a moped. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. And once he posts his bond, then he will be released to any pending holds that he has. Presently, we have, what was it now? Well, you know the holds he has. So he'll be released of Forsyth County and Clark County. And his next court date is April 10th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, we can position number 10, Mr. Menzies.
10. John Menzies is accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property from January 12, 2025, case number 25 CR 16228. Mr. Menzies, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and any priors, Mr. Howard?
8 on probation out of card for reckless conduct. 2024 obstruction DUI out of Forsyth. 2022 battery, simple battery dismissed. 2017 battery, simple battery dismissed. That's it.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Skaroka?
Yes, Judge. This incident, actually, there were two of them. I want to make sure it should have been. I mean, I certainly did. Hopefully it went through an added accusation for another criminal trespass count. And you'll see why in a second. So it's a second in time, actually, incident with the one that occurred January 12th, 2025 at 1099 Boulevard, Southeast Atlanta. Law enforcement responded there to a vandalism call. Dispatch advised her ex-boyfriend had kicked down the front door and then fled on foot. Upon arrival, they spoke with the victim, Miss, and I want to make sure I'm saying this right, Suzalande Fradestin, Suzelande Fradestin. She explained the defendant, who's her ex-boyfriend, had come to her apartment wearing a black hoodie with a hood covering his face. The defendant knocked down her Ring doorbell camera and kicked down her front door, causing damage to both the door and the door frame, roughly in the area of $300 approximately. She was able to identify the defendant from the Ring doorbell footage, which she provided to law enforcement. They previously lived together from June 2021 to June 2023, and that was over in Cobb County. She since moved out and away from him due to physical domestic issues that were documented and handled in Cobb County. I'll get to one of those briefly. And 2 days prior to this incident, and this is the other criminal trespass charge, this was on January 10th, 2025, the defendant picked up the victim's fish tank and poured it down the kitchen sink drain, killing 2 of her fish and roughly 20 snails that she had in there. She stated that incident on the 10th led to the end of their relationship entirely. And ultimately, from that, I guess she, in her belief, that's where that January 12th incident 2 days later transpired from.
No, I have.
I'm sorry, was that someone on the line?
No, please continue.
Okay. Yes, Judge. The convictions, reckless driving, amended from DUI 2024, no license on person 2017, and as Mr. Howard explained, the battery charge, but there was also a false imprisonment. Both of those were null pros in 2017. That didn't involve the victim, but this other one from our contact with her evidently did. Whatever transpired, though it was a null pros, it was simple battery, family violence, all those of which she was arrested for in 2022. She's explained that she was the victim in that case. He has open DUI, and just as well, I believe it's a narcotics offense as well. So it's our understanding the victim does want contact here, or excuse me, does not want contact, but is not in fear of the defendant. They don't share any children. But given the history, not sure why that one was null pros in 2022. I'm not going to speculate, but the history, these offenses, one right after the other, 2 days, and just, I think it's sick and depraved to dump a fish tank into killing the living things in there. It's inappropriate. It's awful. The state's recommendation is $2,000 surety bond on both criminal trespass counts. No further contact with Suzalande Fredestin, anger management, and stay away from 1099 Boulevard, Southeast Atlanta. Thank you.
Huh? And Mr. Scirocco, do you see the amended accusation? I think the clerk's office still has to add it to the. Do you see it, Ms. Champion or Ms. Grace?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I just added it.
Thank you. Yeah, there should be an added one and an amended one as well. So hopefully those both went through to y'all. Thank you.
All right. So Ms. Kim and Mr. Menzies, the prosecution office has added another count of criminal trespass causing damage to property. Just to make it simpler, one would be for the ring camera and the door, and the other one would be for the fish tank. All right, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe that Mr. John Menzies is 27 years old. He was born in New York. However, he grew up here in Georgia at Cobb County mainly, Your Honor. He does have a brother here, and he graduated from Kennesaw University with a bachelor's degree this last December 2024, and he is pursuing 1-year accelerated program to get master's degree for sports management. Someday he would like to study for sports law and also become a sports manager for NFL. Even though he has grown up at a foster care environment, he has been doing very well academically. And Your Honor, I believe they reconciled all these issues, and I asked for signature on bond for pretrial level 3. He has no objection to stay away from that location and no contact whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fredeston, if you want to address this case, you're free to unmute and start your video. Otherwise, I'm moving on. Suzalande Fredestein or Fredestin. All right. On each count of the criminal trespass causing damage to property, that's going to be $1,000 surety on each count. That's a $2,000 surety bond. Next court date is April 10th. No further contact with Suzalande Fredestin to stay away from the Boulevard location. Stay 200 yards away from that entire complex. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you.
Your Honor, is 2 criminal trespass?
Yes, one count has just been added. It will show up on the jailing screen very shortly. Mr. Menzies, you have a right to remain silent. If you choose to say anything, your statements can and will be used against you. If you want to waive your right to remain silent, that's entirely up to you, but it'd probably make your attorney upset.
Understood. I just want to say some of the facts here are wrong from the Mr. Ryan Sirocco that he has, and I would like to clarify some of that.
Oh, we will do that at the trial.
And also, I grew up here in foster care, like she was saying. So I would really appreciate a signature bond because I don't have anyone here to bail me out, and I would love to get back to school because I have an internship with Kennesaw State University football. I have school that's online, this accelerated program. If I don't turn in these assignments, I'm gonna fail these classes, and the money that I've taken out loans to go to school are been put to waste, and I won't graduate on time.
Understood, but that's the bond I'm going to stay with. Thank you. Next court date is April 10th.
Next, Your Honor, we can go to position number 12, Mr. Taylor.
Number what?
14. 14, my bad, Howard.
Just make sure.
Mr. Howard's going to be keeping up with all this stuff. All right. So Aaron Taylor is accused of cruelty in the 3rd degree and battery family violence from March 27th of this year under accusation 25 CR 1615A. Mr. Taylor, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
The IQ on the GCIC stated that it was his first arrest. Nothing matched up.
Okay.
That's what I see as well, just no record.
All right. First arrest then?
This is an incident from yesterday, Your Honor, March the 27th at about 9:15 p.m. Police were called to 430 Ridgewood Way in Alpharetta. There they met with the defendant's wife. Her name is Priscilla Taylor. I believe she's joined us on the Zoom. She reported that after she had intervened when the defendant was disciplining their son and she felt he was being too intense and loud, she was then the recipient of his anger. He grabbed her and by her forearms and pinned her against a wall outside of their bedroom, prevented her from moving, causing what would turn into bruises, I'm guessing, but large red marks specifically detailed in the warrants. She reported that she was afraid, and that's why she called the police. Police actually spoke to the child, a seven-year-old little boy, AT Jr. He reported that he heard his parents arguing and fighting and bad words, and that he didn't see it physically because his dad told him to leave the room. We did speak to Priscilla, the victim. She said that the couple is married and they live together and share 2 children. She did confirm the events, but said that this is not something she's ever experienced with him before, and she's not in fear. We're asking for a $3,000 SOB through pretrial, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and no violence, no violent contact. We'd ask for anger awareness. Thank you. If you'd call for Mrs. Priscilla Taylor.
Mrs. Taylor, if you're on Zoom, this will be the time to unmute and start your video.
Hello.
Hello. If you'd like to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And are you comfortable with having Mr. Taylor back at home?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That's all I need to know. Thank you. Mr. McLean, anything else to add? Otherwise, it's going to be a signature bond with no violent contact.
Nothing to add, no objection.
All right. On the cruelty, it's going to be $1,500. On the battery, it's going to be $2,500. This is a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services level 1. Mr. Taylor, you can sign up for the bond today. You won't have to pay for it, but you will have to comply with the following conditions. No further violent contact with Priscilla Taylor and with the minor child identified as AJ on the warrant. You may return to the marital home. You are not to consume any illegal drugs and no alcoholic beverages, and you're not allowed to own or possess or have any firearms in your home. If there are any firearms in your home or if you own them, they are to be surrendered to the authorities for destruction. You will enroll in a domestic violence intervention program within 30 days upon your release, and you will attend and complete all 26 weeks of classes at your expense. You're also required to undertake one parenting class, and you'll be required to enroll in the parenting class within 60 days of being released. You report to pretrial once a month, and if you violate these conditions or if you get arrested again or don't show up in court, the $4,000 signature bond can either be revoked or amended to a surety bond or a cash bond. Thank you. Next case, please.
Next, we can go to position number 12, Mr. Shabazz.
This is Mr. Sadiq Shabazz, case number 25CR1624A. Mr. Shabazz is accused of theft by shoplifting and criminal trespass from March 27th of this year, case 25CR1624A. Mr. Shabazz, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Third, got an open shoplifting out of Clayton County. Wanted out of Morrow. I saw a bench warrant out of Roth for shoplifting. That's all.
Is that the open shoplifting case?
What you mean?
I believe
The bench warrant?
Yeah,
Yes.
I believe it is, Judge.
Yes.
It's 24CR001523A. Is that correct, Mr. Howard?
More than likely. I didn't write it. I didn't write it down. I can look it up, but you're probably right.
That's all right. Mr. Scirocco, what is your recommendation for bond?
Yes, Judge. It's a $500 surety given that FTA last July for that open theft by shop case from I believe it was actually the same. I looked into it. It was the same Walmart location that previous incident involved. This was a theft of $115. But we'd also recommend a stay away from all Walmart premises and property, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
This is the Walmart at 844 Cleveland.
Yes, Judge. He's full.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond, and if not a signature bond, then possibly a $1,000 surety would be one that might be better for the bonding company. Your Honor, he's 24 years old, been in Georgia for the last 24 years, so he's been there ever since he was 4. He went to high school locally. He went to the Job Corps and studied office administration and culinary arts. He has had fast food jobs and also temporary labor agency jobs as assigned. We would ask the court to consider signature bond if that's possible. Thank you.
Unfortunately, as you know, the law has changed that if there's a recent bench warrant that or a failure to appear, the defendant is not qualified for a signature bond. Mr. Sadiq, you have a right to remain silent, or Mr. Shabazz, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. So, well, let me just first get to the prior case, the 24 CR 0015238. That was a signature bond through pretrial services. Unfortunately, because of this new arrest, that signature bond will be surrendered and converted to a surety bond. The present bond for the new case is going to be $500 on each count. That's going to be $1,000 surety bond. Again, to stay away from all Walmart stores, which was actually a condition from the previous case as well. So, Mr. Shabazz, you now have 2 open cases against you, and you're under 2 court orders requiring you to stay away from all Walmart stores, including the one at 844 Cleveland Avenue. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. And I don't know if a social worker visit took place last time, but he will require one this time. His next court date is April 10th. Ms. Champion, we will address both cases on April 10th, which will be the new one, as well as 24 CR 0015238.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Shabazz, you've been advised of your right to remain silent.
Yes, I've been advised. I was wondering about the bench warrant.
The what?
They said I had a bench warrant.
You have a failure to appear.
From where exactly?
From Judge Roth's case in where you were arrested for shoplifting back in April 1st of 2024. So almost virtually a year ago. And you received a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, where you were required to report to pretrial once a month. All right, thank you. Mr. Howard, please make a note the signature bond is surrendered.
Yeah, they already
Did so? Thank you.
did something with it last year
Okay,
as far as the supervision.
all right.
Next is position number 13, Mr. Shorter.
This is Travis Shorter, accused of battery against a female who's pregnant and simple battery family violence from October 17th, 2024. Mr. Shorter, your case number is 25 CR 1612Y. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
4th arrest. Got an open case out of Baldwin County, possession of meth, suspended license, on probation for a CWAC charge. In 2007, they gave him 10 years to serve, 10 years probation. Went to felony earlier for armed robbery, ag assault, no bond, and wanted out of DeKalb County on probation for that CWAC. That's it.
This is an incident from October 2024. So the defendant was picked up within the last 48 hours and had multiple warrants. His 2 cases or 2 incidences in felony court today were also.
Sorry, Ms. Allen, I didn't mean to interrupt, but your video is not displaying. Could you correct that, please?
Let me try again. Oh no. I'm gonna log off and log back on.
Okay.
Apologize.
We'll hold. While we are waiting for Ms. Allen to join us, Deputy, do you have any resets that you want to announce?
Yes, position Mr. Williams, Patrick Williams, is gonna be a reset.
All right, is this a medical reset?
Yes.
All right, this will be reset to March 29th, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mr. McLean or Ms. Kim, do you have any waivers that you are planning to address?
I plan to address Harry Head. He needs to go to the competency calendar. I'll get hold of Mr. Bartels.
All right, and like position 15, trailer.
I believe he was released.
Bond was paid, Ms. Trailer bond was paid.
All right, so position 15 is released.
I interviewed Mr. Van McClendon, position number 9.
Yes.
But this is from 2023, and I do not have a copy of the warrant why he is scheduled for bond hearing.
Okay.
He's only here for probation violation, Your Honor.
Okay.
There was a Bruce Cade, who I think may have been a bond over. I don't know what his current bond is.
Ms. Allen said she's putting him on the add-on. I don't know yet that, so when she gets back on.
Okay. All right, Ms. Varna, if you want to unmute, what would you like to ask?
Hey, Your Honor. I was trying to ask if Miss Trailer is already bonded out. Should I still be here?
I've been informed that that case has already been, the defendant has been released and they will get notice to come back to court. So no, you're free to go.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. All right, are we still on hold for Ms. Allen? All right, Mr. Mr. McLean, we can, have you waived the appearance for Harry Head, case number 25 CR 1621H?
He's too incompetent to give me permission to do anything. He is definitely in need of the competency calendar, Your Honor.
All right.
It's obvious.
We'll reset him to I think April 10th is a Tuesday. So no, is it the
Thursday.
Okay. Would we be able to get him on next week's competency calendar?
Let me check, Your Honor.
All right. All right, Mr. McLean, it'll either be April 3rd or April 10th at 11 a.m.
Thank you.
All right.
And I apologize, Your Honor. I'm back. I had to switch
Not
to
a
my
problem.
phone.
Not a problem. All right. Please proceed.
Are we still talking about Mr. Shorter?
Yes.
So there were multiple warrants when he was picked up a few days ago. This is an incident from October the 17th of 2024. At about 10 a.m., police were called to an address on Campbellton Road, specifically 1830. There they met with the victim, Kenya Wright. She reported that she and the defendant had driven to the location with their 3-year-old daughter in the car. And while they were driving there, he was disrespectful and called their daughter a name. She argued with him and told him not to speak to her that way. And at that point, he assaulted her there out in front of the location at Campbellton Road, striking her. And then when she was on the ground, kicking her repeatedly, threatening to harm her and the child she was pregnant with. She was 5 months pregnant at the time. She reported that they lived together and they shared the 3-year-old that was present for this incident. We did have a chance to speak to the victim today. She says, that he wasn't actually calling the child names like she reported, that she did later have a child and lost that child, but it was unrelated to this incident. She's been in contact with him since this incident and there's no violence and she's not in fear. Your Honor, the defendant, was seen in first appearance today and has no bond. They're from some very serious charges as well as a very serious history. We're asking for a $4,000 surety to stay away from wherever Mrs. Wright may live and have no contact with her or the child that they share, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And if you'd sound for Mrs. Wright. Thank you.
Okay. Kania Wright, if you want to unmute and start a video to add anything to the proceeding, you may do so now. Kania Wright. All right, Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Your Honor. 32-year-old Travis Shorter is a Georgian all his life, went through high school in the 11th grade, and has been doing work in the landscaping and demolitions fields. And prior to that, he also worked for a local medium-sized municipality doing environmental services for them. He would ask the court to set a bond that would be as low as possible in this case, Your Honor.
On the battery against a female who's pregnant, $2,000. Simple battery is $1,000. This is a $3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Kania Wright to stay away from wherever she happens to live, work, or physically located. And no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And his next court date is April 10th.
And she just logged in. Your Honor, please.
I'm sorry, what did you want to know?
Kanaya Wright just logged in with her video, then somebody took her off.
I don't know. She didn't appear. I don't know whether she just left the Zoom.
No, I seen her face and then it was took off of the screen.
Understood. She may have left the Zoom once she heard the bond. Let me ask. Miss Grace, there was a Kania Wright. Was she removed by the host or?
No, ma'am, not by me.
All right. Miss Wright apparently left the Zoom on her own accord. So your present bond is 3,000 surety. Please keep in mind already you have other holds as well. So even if you make bond, you still have other matters holding you at the jail. We'll see you on April 10th.
And Miss Allen, are you ready with that add-on?
Oh, Miss Allen, if you could unmute, please.
I apologize. I did send a accusation and copied Miss Champion as well for Mr. Cade. Miss Champion, did you get that?
All right. Kania Wright is back on Zoom. All right, Mr. Shorter, if you're still in the courtroom too, we can address the case. All right. Ms. Wright, did you have something to add?
It picked me out, so I wasn't able to hear.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And what would you like to tell us?
We don't really have a bad relationship. Like, it's nothing. It was an incident that happened while I was pregnant, and I got overheated, and it turned violent. But other than that, he's not like a violent person. We never had, out of the 10 years we've been together, we never had like a physical altercation besides this one time.
But the incident did apparently occur?
Yes, it did occur.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I need to know. But his bond remains as a $3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Kania Wright. He's required to stay 200 yards away from you and not communicate with you in any way, form, or manner. Mr. Shorter, unfortunately, has other open cases, including armed robbery, aggravated assault, abuse and neglect of a disabled or elderly person, including the 2 charges against you. So I'm just saying these are open matters. Mr. Shorter, do not say anything, but it doesn't reflect well on your track record, and that's why you don't qualify for a signature bond.
So I have a question. When you say he has to stay away, do he have to stay away from the kids we share as well?
Are you and he married?
We're not married.
Did he file a legitimation case to get rights over the kids?
No, I'm saying I mean, I'm saying he can stay away from me, but does he have to stay away from his kids? Is what I'm
I
asking.
didn't know he had kids with you, but now that I do know, then yes, he needs to stay away from the children he shares with you. Once he is released, he can file a legitimation action and obtain a court order for joint visitation and custody of the children. Currently,
Okay.
he has absolutely no rights to visitation and custody over children who are not born in wedlock and who are not legitimated.
Okay.
Thank you. You're free to go.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Shorter. Okay, subject to, I don't see an add-on yet on our calendar. Deputy, please give us a few moments. I just want to go over the calendar for the rest of the cases. For position number 1, Islam Aslanov, that was a $5,000 surety bond. Reset date is April 10th. Position 2, Brown, that's going to be a, I knew I wrote it down somewhere. Oh, have we addressed that? Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I didn't write it
7,500.
down either. I just
No,
know
no.
it's level 3.
Yeah, 7,500 signature bond through pretrial level 3. And then position 3, Pilar Brown, that was a $1,000 surety, reset date April 10th. Position 4, Buey, is a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 with an FBIT requirement. Position 5, Gainer, that's a 2,500 surety bond, reset April 10th. Position 6, Goodwin, that's a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 3. Position 7, Ham, that's a 5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 with an FBIT. And position 8, Harry Head, Mr. McLean, I'm going to set a $1,000 surety bond with a reset date to Ms. Champion. Which date? April 3rd, possible?
April 10th.
Okay, then it'll be the April 10th, 11 a.m. competency calendar. Position 9, McClendon. Ms. Kim, you filed a waiver of appearance, did you?
I will file it, Your Honor. However, he's incompetent. He was actually found to be incompetent. There's a court order from 2023 case. So even though he told me I could represent him, I don't know how much is his understanding.
Well, I can reset it to tomorrow and we can address it at that time if he appears. Otherwise, I'll reset it to the competency calendar.
Thank you.
So position number 9 is reset to March 29th at 2 p.m. Position 10, Menzies, and that's going to be a $2,000 surety bond. Reset date is April 10th. Position 11, Sanders, that's a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Position 12, Shabazz, is a $1,000 surety bond. Reset date April 10th. His prior case signature bond has been surrendered. Position 13, Travis Shorter, that's a $3,000 surety bond. Reset date April 10th. 14, Taylor, that's a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 with a parenting class and an FBIT requirement. Position 15, Trailer, has been released and that's further notice. Position 16, Ward, that's a 2,500 surety bond, reset date April 10th, along with the 3 other cases.
I thought it was a 25 cash and 500 good.
Oh, cash. Okay,
No, I'm asking. That's why
no, you're correct. You're correct. It's a $3,000 split bond, 2,500 cash bond and a 500 surety bond. Position 17, Waring, that was a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 2. And position 18, Patrick Williams, is a medical reset to March 29th. Ms. Champion, have we had a chance to generate a add-on? I don't see it. Is Mr. Cade in the courtroom?
Mr. Jordan is working on it, Your Honor.
All right.
Here in the courtroom.
All right. May I have his jailing number? Or booking number?
250-5603.
Thank you.
I didn't have chance to interview him. Mr. P.D. McLean, did you interview him?
Yes, I did.
Awesome.
Thank
you.
All right, so 250-5603. All right, is it Mr. Bruce Darrell Cade? If you'd like to come forward. All right, this is Mr. As soon as he comes forward.
Yes,
Thank you. All right, this is Bruce Darrell Cade. He has been booked in under Fulton County Jailing number 250-5603. He is presently in custody on a electronic warrant in which he is charged with possession and use of a drug-related object, warrant number EW-047679. Miss Allen, are you addressing this case?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Cade came into the system with misdemeanor drug objects charge.
And what are
Filed an
you, I'm sorry, what's the accusation for?
drug objects for a glass pipe.
All right. If you please hold, Mr. Cade, I'd just like to remind you that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you this afternoon is Mr. Michael McLean. I just received an email from Mr. Jordan.
The accusation.
And the accusation number is 25 CR 001627G, possession and use of drug-related object. Incident date is March 23, 2025. Okay, thank you. And Ms. Allen, what's the bond recommendation?
We're asking for a $3,000 surety bond, Your Honor, and the reason for that is the defendant in front of you is a multi-time convicted felon. This is an incident from the 23rd. Police responded to the Sonesta Hotel in East Point, that's 1325 Virginia Avenue, when it was reported that the guest in room 806, the defendant, was pacing in the hallway on the 8th floor with a firearm, acting in a paranoid manner, saying someone was going to kill him. Police tried to locate him. He was then encountered in the hallway, and when police went with him to his room, they found the pistol that he'd been carrying around, as well as drug objects and lots of personal items of his. And so he was originally on what was the felony docket this morning, but these are not warrants for felonies. So this will be transferred, Your Honor, based on his status as a felon in possession. That's what should be charged in this case. That's why we're asking for a surety bond. We're also asking to surrender all firearms, stay away from the 1325 Virginia Avenue location, the Sonesta Hotel, and we'd ask for a social worker visit and some kind of evaluation.
Mr. Howard, I know this was just added on. Do you happen to have his GCIC?
I do. 19 total. He had a DUI from this year. Before this year was 1999 FTA. Resident of Augusta. I don't know what the felony bond was. I would have to ask.
They didn't hear it because the
Oh, they
warrants are just for drug objects.
Okay.
It shouldn't have been up there. So something's been missed in the process, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McLean, anything to add?
Your Honor, Bruce Cade is 65 years old. He is a veteran of the U.S. Air Force. He has a CDL. He's worked as a truck driver, a school driver, a MART driver. We would ask the court to set an appropriate bond. We would hope it would be as low as possible.
Okay. A bond is set at $1,500, it's a surety bond, to stay away from the Sonesta Suites Hotel at 1325 Virginia Avenue in East Point. He's allowed a one-time visit with a police officer. He must be escorted with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings from the hotel. That visit cannot exceed 30 minutes. After that, he needs to update the court with his current mailing address, and he must do so within 30 days of posting bond. His next court date is going to be April 10th. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. Any and all firearms owned by Mr. Cade must be surrendered to the authorities immediately for destruction. Thank you. Oh, and yes, Mr. Cade, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Your Honor, I understand, yes. The solicitor also says that I have multiple violations as a felon. I am a felon with a pardon from the state of Georgia. I have a pardon with all gun rights and political rights restored.
That may be the reason why there's some confusion here. So we went ahead and filed the accusation, and if that's in fact the case, then the case won't end up being a felony, sir.
Thank you.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Cade. Yes, but the bond still remains as a surety bond since this incident involves firearms. So presently, under your bond order, you are required to relinquish possession of any and all firearms to be surrendered for destruction. Thank you. All right, Deputy, I think that concludes our calendar.
Okay.
Unless you have somebody else that you forgot to.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, I'll see you tomorrow then. Thank you. All right, everyone. Any information that you want me to?
Are you going to be here tomorrow?
Yes.
You will have not me, but Mrs. Kenya Jackson and staff, and I'll make sure they're aware of the 2 resets.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties today, but we figured it out. I appreciate it. Happy Friday and have a nice weekend.
Everyone, so you too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.